Hello and welcome to the 2018 Middle East Regional Conference. I'm joined today by Sandeep Chouhan, who is the Executive Vice President of Technology and Operations at Mashreq Bank. Sandeep, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me here.
You've just finished a panel on looking at disruption in the payments landscape, and you talked a lot about some of the collaboration taking place between fintechs in the Middle East and banks in the region. How do you expect that to progress in the coming years?
Yeah, so at Mashreq, we've been really privileged to work with 7 startups at the moment. And through that journey, we've learned a lot and I think found a model that works for both the banks and the fintechs. And that what the model rests on is these fintechs are really bringing some very powerful, meaningful point solutions to real-world problems. They are very passionate about what they have developed, and they are looking for a real home to prove their capabilities, their understanding of this. So as a bank, I think we need to prepare ourselves in how we receive these fintechs and take a slightly different approach in adjusting to partnering or collaborating with them. How we look at the procurement model, the commercial model of inviting them in. How we look at the design review process, because these technologies are completely outside the standard realms of technical architecture. How we look at them and evaluate them and receive them into this. How we look at change management. Classically, banks have a very rigid and robust change management process, and typically these fintechs bring out their best capabilities when they are in an agile mode. So several adjustments need to be made into developing and receiving these institutions and offering them the ability to see success as they evolve the solution. So giving them the ability to scale their solutions and be able to build in the ability to support those solutions. The other problem with some of these startups is that they could be at an experimental stage, and they are good at building, may not be necessarily good at supporting the post-implementation. So it's been a great journey. It requires a level of meeting of the minds. It requires building an open and trusting relationship. And you also need to share the passion. The bank needs to share the passion in what these organizations are trying to do.
But as you mentioned, Sandeep, that this collaboration really is having a meaningful impact on the payments landscape, for example, here in the region and in the country.
Yes. So on the payment side, we're working with 3 startups. We're working with the whole track and trace capabilities. So transparency has become a very vital element that consumers and corporates need in payments. So we are working with a semantic search capabilities with a company called Semantify, who are giving us unbelievable ability to real-time track the payment through its multiple hops. A typical payment in a bank could go through its processing systems, screening systems, and then through the SWIFT payment gateways. And we've seen that and doing all these things real time to be able to diagnose where the transactions are has been very successful. Likewise, check processing. So while we normally talk of electronic payments, we also deal with checks. And we're working with startups which are developed very advanced AI tools which can do very deep image processing capabilities and are able to take and perform very, very exhaustive forensics. And you'll be surprised that a physical check, a payment check, undergoes 37 validations by the human eye before it is cleared for payment. And to put a robot that can consistently, and by the way, signature is only one of 37 validations. So to be able to perform such deep validations and ensure that we are both able to ensure the completeness and the accuracy and the security elements of a check, but also at the same time offer it on speed. And these are important because increasingly in payments, particularly self-service is a very vital part. Consumers want to be able to initiate transactions on almost every channel, in every store, on mobile phones, on any kind of device. And they want to be able to see the fulfillment of those transactions. So these startups are helping us get to take each problem, break it down into discrete components and solve for it. The breadth of use cases that we bring to the table allows them to see a very, the edges and they push the boundaries of their product thinking, and the use cases are helping them to really industrialize and build scale.
And that's the key question here, is getting that scale and that sort of industrialization of their concepts to the market, essentially.
Yes. And industrialization is not only speed, it is security, it is support. At what peak loads does these things break down? And the advancements that you're seeing with quantum computing on the cloud is liberating, and it's the affordability by some of these small companies is missing. And when they come into the confines of a large bank, we are able to afford to bring in some of those players. Also, because we have trusting relationship with large suppliers, the likes of Microsoft and Oracle and Google, we are able to bring that ecosystem to their doorstep. And they value that. And they value that the large players are willing to allow them to experiment and learn. And there's so much more that these large corporations add. So the partnership is really very powerful. The large established players, whom also are very critical partners in this digitization journey, they learn as well, right? They learn something about the cultural aspect of how transactions are performed, the security considerations that come with it, and it just enriches the products on both sides.
Well, Sandeep, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.